Today, Refinanced to Billyo. Hello again, it's Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics, with latest posts covering finance and problem news with a distinctively Australian flavour. Well, borrower refinancing of housing loan commitments between lenders reached an all-time high of $17.2 billion after a rise of 6% in July 2021, according to data released by the ABS today on new lending. The ABS said the value of refinancing between lenders was 60% higher in July 2021 compared to a year ago. This reflected borrowers seeking out lower interest rates, particularly for fixed-rate loans, and cashback deals across a large number of major and non-major lenders. The value of new housing loan commitments, excluding refinancing, rose just 0.2% in July 21, and a rise in investor loan commitments was 1.8%. That was partially offset by a fall in owner-occupied loan commitments, down 0.4%. Investor loan commitments have seen an unbroken period of growth since October 2020 and almost doubled in value compared to a year ago. Across the country, owner-occupied construction lending continued to unwind from the February 2021 all-time high when the Home Builder Grant was available. Since the peak in February 2021, the value of those commitments have fallen from $4.2 billion to $2.5 billion, or a 42% drop. Average loan sizes for owner-occupied dwellings, that includes construction, purchase of new and existing dwellings, has risen since February 2021, particularly a new high in July in New South Wales, Victoria and Queensland. And New South Wales recorded the strongest rise of any state or territory, with an increase in the value of owner-occupied loan commitments, excluding refinancing, of 6.6%. While New South Wales had COVID-19 lockdown restrictions throughout July, lenders reported that the rise in owner-occupier loan commitments was driven by loan applications from May and June. In contrast to the rise in New South Wales, the value of owner-occupier loan commitments was weak across most other states. Victoria rose 0.4%, while Queensland fell 6.3%. South Australia fell 8.2%, and Western Australia fell 0.7%. Increases in the value of new loan commitments to investors was strongest in New South Wales, up 6.1%, and Queensland up 9.1%. And the number of new loan commitments to owner-occupier first home buyers fell again, down 6.8% in July, following a 7.8% fall in June. And the level of commitments has fallen 20% since January 2021, but remains about 20% higher compared to a year ago. First home buyer lending fell across all states and territories, with the largest fall seen in Victoria, followed by Queensland and New South Wales. While these falls were still tied to the unwinding of strength in construction lending post-home builder, the decline in first home buyer loan commitments now appears more widespread. The value of new loan commitments for fixed-term personal finance rose 14.2% in July. That was driven primarily by a rise of 93% in lending for personal investment, typically for the purchase of shares and other investment assets. Lending for the purchase of road vehicles rose just 2.9%. Now, CanStar analysis of the ABS lending indicators also shows that Australian mortgage holders managed to refinance $17.22 billion worth of loans to a new lender in July 2021, and refinancing activity was up a whopping 59.9% from July last year. CanStar Group Executive Financial Services Steve Mickenberger said lockdowns have only just dented housing lending, with a modest increase in approvals in July, wholly driven by investors. There has to be an expectation that August approvals will show a greater lockdown impact, with the number of auctions in Sydney nearly halving over the past few months, while Melbourne auction clearance rates have dived. Prior to this round of lockdowns, the biggest questions were when or if we would see a property market correction. The threat of extended lockdowns in the country's biggest property markets has hardly factored in, with the focus having been around affordability and sustainability in the face of closed overseas borders. The speculation has now shifted to whether we will see a repeat of the last 12 months' spectacular recovery out of the first lockdown. Property prices are moderating, but not correcting, and at this stage vendors are holding the line in expectation that high vaccination rates will see the market return to business as usual. Lending to first home buyers is up 36% on a year ago, but it's lagging the 99% growth for investment and the 58% for owner-occupier overall. The almost 7% fall in loans to first home buyers in July is not about lockdowns, rather a product of being priced out of the market as government incentives have wound down. And refinance continues to boom, up 60% year on year, and that's not that surprising given the fact that CanStar lists over 200 interest rates now below 2%. So perhaps some people have been watching our shows about the apathy tax. But the dynamics here are really interesting insofar that first home buyers are now off tone, which may mean that we will see the government decide to launch yet another stab at incentivising them to come into the markets. But more worrying is this shift back to property investors. Remember that the Reserve Bank recently said they weren't worried about house prices because it was being driven by owner-occupiers. Well, if the shift to investors is real and continues, then this may bring more pressure on the regulators and the RBA to tighten the standards. We'll see. So nevertheless, the easing back is very much a story of strong refinancing. And frankly, there's plenty more where that came from, because there are a lot of people still sitting on rates that are much higher than the best available in the market if they did but see it. I'm Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Many thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.